The night shimmered with luxury. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen fireworks above the ballroom. Laughter echoed through golden walls, and champagne flowed as easily as the money in the room. It was the annual Zenith Foundation Gala, an event where billionaires came not to help the world, but to remind each other they could. At the center of it all stood Ethan Cole, a self-made black CEO whose company had revolutionized green energy. Tall, confident, and calm, he moved through the crowd with the quiet grace of a man who had nothing to prove. Beside him was his wife Naomi, elegant in a silver gown that shimmered under the lights. She was warm, kind, and effortlessly poised, the kind of person who could make even the coldest heart thaw with a smile. Tonight was special. Ethan's company, Solvra Tech, was finalizing a billion-dollar merger with Richard Langford, a billionaire known as much for his arrogance as for his wealth. This deal would change everything, create thousands of jobs, push green innovation forward, and mark one of the biggest corporate collaborations of the decade. But the universe has a way of testing character when pride walks into the room. Richard arrived fashionably late, flanked by a group of investors who laughed a little too loudly at his jokes. His tuxedo gleamed black as midnight, his smile sharp, insincere. When he spotted Ethan, his smirk widened. "Ethan," Richard said, voice booming, "the man of the hour, and this must be your lovely wife." Naomi smiled warmly. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. Langford. Ethan's spoken highly of your work." Richard's eyes lingered a moment too long. "Has he now?" "Well, it's always good to see power couples at these things." "You clean up nice," he said with a smirk that made Ethan's jaw tighten. Throughout the evening, Ethan noticed Richard's subtle condescension. The way he over-explained financial terms, the backhanded compliments, the lingering tone that reeked of superiority. Still, Ethan held his composure. He'd learned long ago that calm was the loudest response in a room full of ego. But as the night stretched on, things took a cruel turn. Near the pool terrace, where guests mingled under the soft glow of garden lights, Richard decided to entertain his audience. He raised a glass, pulling Ethan and Naomi closer. "Here's to progress," Richard said loudly, "and to partnerships that prove anyone can make it in this country." The laughter that followed had an edge. Naomi shifted uncomfortably. Ethan's smile faded. And then, before anyone could react, Richard reached out and pushed Naomi backward. The splash shattered the night. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Naomi resurfaced, coughing, her beautiful gown clinging to her in soaked silver folds. For a split second, time froze. Ethan rushed forward, helping her out as attendants scrambled for towels. His face was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that came before a storm. Richard, half drunk on champagne and arrogance, laughed. "Oh, come on, it was just a joke. Lighten up, Ethan. Didn't mean any harm." The crowd's laughter faltered. Silence rippled through the air like a chill. Naomi stood trembling, tears mixing with the water on her face. But Ethan gently placed his hand on her shoulder, his voice steady. "It's all right, love. Let's get you inside." He turned without another word and led her away, leaving Richard to bask in his own smugness, unaware that he'd just set fire to his empire. The next morning, headlines were buzzing, not about the gala, but about a shocking announcement. Cole withdraws from Langford merger, $1 billion deal cancelled. The financial world went silent. Reporters called it reckless. Analysts called it emotional. But those who knew Ethan knew better. Inside his sleek downtown office, Ethan sat across from his board of directors. His decision was firm. "Partnerships built without respect," he said quietly, "are partnerships built to fail. No deal is worth your dignity." Naomi, now composed, stood by his side, her hand resting gently on his arm. She didn't need to speak. Her presence said everything. Within hours, Langford Industries' stock plummeted. Investors fled, questioning the integrity of a man who could humiliate another's wife for sport. Rumors swirled, old scandals resurfaced. Meanwhile, Solvra Tech's reputation soared. Companies that had once hesitated now reached out. Offers poured in, bigger, cleaner, fairer. But Ethan wasn't chasing numbers anymore. That night, as the city lights flickered outside their penthouse window, Naomi looked at her husband. "Was it worth it?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled, his eyes tired but steady. "Some deals," he said, "aren't about money. They're about reminding people who we are." Naomi leaned her head against his shoulder. The world outside could chase wealth and power all it wanted. They had something rarer: integrity, love, and peace. And sometimes that was worth more than $1 billion.